Welcome back to Dark Threads. I'm sure you've heard the news. The year is 1888. The streets of London are bustling with life, yet there's an undercurrent of unease that permeates the air. The city is a sprawling maze of cobblestone streets and narrow alleys, where the rich and poor live worlds apart, yet side by side. London is cold, not the normal winter cold, but a deeper, scarier cold that seeps into your bones. The kind of cold that makes you pull your coat tighter and quicken your pace, hoping to reach the warmth of home sooner. But for many, there is no warmth to be found. This is Whitechapel, a place with long shadows that seem to stretch endlessly, swallowing the light. The alleys are narrow and winding, a labyrinth where danger lurks around every corner. A place where poor and desperate people crowd the streets, their faces etched with hardship and despair. They huddle together for warmth, sharing stories of their struggles and dreams that seem forever out of reach. The air is thick with smoke and sadness, and now, a new fear. The fog rolls in, mingling with the smoke from countless chimneys, creating a dense, almost tangible blanket that smothers the city. A name everyone whispers: Jack the Ripper. His name is spoken in hushed tones, as if saying it too loudly might summon the monster himself. The fear is palpable, a living, breathing entity that grips the heart of Whitechapel. The streetlights, small and weak, can't cut through the fog. Their feeble glow only serves to cast eerie shadows, making the darkness seem even more impenetrable. It comes in from the river, thick and heavy, like a shroud. The fog creeps through the streets, muffling sounds and distorting shapes, turning the familiar into the unknown. It covers everything, making it hard to see and hear. The world becomes a ghostly place, where every sound is amplified and every shadow holds a threat. In the spooky fog, something evil is hiding. A silhouette appears and disappears, a fleeting glimpse of something sinister. The fog is its ally, concealing its movements and intentions. The city is scared, waiting for the next terrible thing to happen. People move quickly, heads down, avoiding eye contact, as if acknowledging the fear might make it more real. Every day the fear grows. No one is safe. The sense of dread is omnipresent, a dark cloud that hangs over Whitechapel, as everyone waits for the next strike from the unseen terror. He came from the shadows, a ghost in the night, Jack the Ripper, a name that makes people afraid, a sign of death. He started killing in the dirty alleys of Whitechapel, hurting the weakest people. He hunted at night, following women in the dark. His terrible killings shocked London and the whole world. His victims, all women, were brutally murdered, their bodies left out in the open for everyone to see. Each killing was worse than the last. The police couldn't find him. Fear was everywhere in Whitechapel. Marianne Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. These names echo through history, forever linked by the tragic events of the autumn of 1888. Each woman had her own story, her own struggles, and her own dreams, but their lives were cut short in the most horrific manner. 5 names we will always remember, connected by sadness. Their deaths were not just statistics. They were real people, with families and friends who mourned their loss deeply. The pain of their passing rippled through the community, leaving a scar that would never fully heal. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, women who loved and were loved. They had moments of joy and sorrow, just like anyone else. Their lives, though marked by hardship, were valuable and meaningful, women trying to live in a hard world. The late 19th century was a time of great social and economic upheaval. Many women found themselves in precarious situations, struggling to make ends meet in a society that offered them few opportunities. Life in Whitechapel was tough. The area was notorious for its poverty, overcrowding, and crime. It was a place where the vulnerable could easily fall through the cracks, and where danger lurked around every corner. They lived in the shadows, and sadly, they died there too. The dark, narrow streets of Whitechapel became the hunting ground for one of history's most infamous killers. The fear of the unknown gripped the community, as the killer seemed to strike without warning. Their deaths, each one brutal, showed the evil hidden inside some people. The sheer brutality of the murders shocked even the most hardened residents of Whitechapel. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul. Even the police were shocked. The Metropolitan Police, already stretched thin by the demands of the area, were at a loss. The methods used by the killer were unlike anything they had encountered before, leaving them scrambling for answers. The killings were so awful. The public's reaction was one of horror and disbelief. Crowds gathered at the scenes, morbidly curious yet deeply disturbed by the gruesome nature of the crimes. Their throats cut, bodies hurt, lives taken in the worst way. The killer's signature was unmistakable, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. Each victim suffered immensely, their final moments filled with unimaginable pain. The city was sad, full of fear and anger. The murders cast a long shadow over London, with citizens demanding justice and safety. The press sensationalized the events, adding to the public's anxiety and outrage. Who was this monster hurting innocent people? The identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Despite numerous theories and investigations, the true face of the killer has never been revealed, leaving us to wonder about the evil that walked the streets of Whitechapel. The Ripper had a scary way of killing. His methods were not just brutal, but also disturbingly meticulous. Each victim was found with precise incisions, almost as if they were part of a grim surgical procedure. The way he operated suggested a deep understanding of human anatomy, which only added to the terror he inspired. The clean cuts, the way he took out organs, showed he knew a lot about the human body. It was as if he had spent years studying the intricacies of human flesh and bone. The precision of his work was chilling, making it clear that this was no ordinary killer. He was someone who had honed his skills, perhaps in a medical setting, or even a butcher's shop. People whispered that he might be a doctor or a butcher. The speculation ran wild, with theories ranging from a disgraced surgeon seeking revenge to a butcher who had turned his skills to a darker purpose. The idea that someone with such knowledge and precision could be walking among them, hiding in plain sight, was terrifying. People were scared but also curious about this killer. The mystery of his identity and the gruesome nature of his crimes captivated the public's imagination. Newspapers were filled with lurid details, and the streets buzzed with gossip and fear. Every new murder brought a fresh wave of panic, but also a morbid fascination. He was fast and quiet, and he didn't leave much behind. His ability to strike and then vanish into the night was almost supernatural. Witnesses spoke of seeing a shadowy figure moving swiftly through the fog, but by the time anyone reacted, he was gone. The lack of evidence left the police baffled and the public even more frightened. The fog helped him hide, covering up any sounds and his escape. The dense, swirling mist of the Victorian streets was his ally, muffling footsteps and obscuring vision. It was as if the very environment conspired to protect him, allowing him to slip away unseen and unheard. The fog became a symbol of the fear that gripped the city. The darkness protected him, hiding who he was and making people even more afraid. The night was his domain, a cloak that concealed his identity and intentions. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every dark corner a potential hiding place. The fear of the unknown, of what lurked in the darkness, was almost as terrifying as the killer himself. Each new victim brought more horror, reminding everyone that the killer was still out there. The sight of another body, mutilated and left in the open, was a grim reminder of his presence. Funerals became a common sight, each one a somber event that underscored the city's collective dread. The Ripper's reign of terror seemed unending, a dark chapter in the history of Victorian London. The killings were bad enough, but then the killer started playing games with the police. Letters, written in a scary but neat way, arrived at the Central Telegraph Office and newspapers. Signed Jack the Ripper, they made fun of the police, bragging about the killings and promising more. One letter, the Dear Boss letter, talked about a killing before anyone even knew about it. Were the letters real, or was someone playing a sick joke? No one knew. The letters made the fear and suspicion even worse. The police had to catch the killer quickly. Scotland Yard tried everything to find him. They talked to everyone, from butchers and meat packers to people from Poland, and even some from the royal family. There were many ideas about who he was, and people blamed each other. But the police were always too slow. The Ripper disappeared into the fog after every killing. He was like a ghost, leaving only blood and terror behind. Years passed, but no one ever found out who Jack the Ripper was. The case is closed, but people are still interested and confused. Was he a very smart criminal, or did he just disappear into the streets of London? Some people think he wasn't caught because he was an important person, like a doctor or a lawyer, hiding where everyone could see him. Others think he just knew about bodies like a butcher knows about meat, because there's no real proof. People still talk about it and wonder. More than 100 years later, we still remember Jack the Ripper. His terrible killings still scare us. The mystery of who he was, the questions we still have, make us curious. He's like a scary story, something we whisper about in the dark. His name means evil and bad things, and it reminds us that bad things can happen even in good places. Who was Jack the Ripper? Why did he kill? Why did he stop? We still don't know. Maybe we'll never know who this monster was or why he did those terrible things. But one thing is for sure, the story of Jack the Ripper, the mystery of his crimes, will scare and fascinate people for a long time. He reminds us that evil can hide anywhere, and that life can be fragile when faced with bad things. Thank you for watching Dark Threads. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to dive deeper into the mysteries that still haunt the world. And remember, the truth is always out there,